Welcome to Zero Tolerance with Practical Machinist for our third episode of 5X Factor. In this episode, we are going to discuss 3 ways to 5-axis machine. We're going to do 4+1, 3+2, and full 5-axis. Before we can get into that, I want to talk about something we're getting into right now is being able to trust your machine to hit the numbers that you're looking to hit, whatever your tolerances might be. Behind me, we have a machine with a spindle that has gotten bad. So the only way we saw it was in the part. We started to see some interesting finishes that were coming up, and they were not looking right. And we thought maybe it was just the block, the weld. We were actually cutting weld at the time, and we discovered it wasn't the weld as we cut other things. So what is the most frustrating thing is when the machines don't do what they're supposed to do. Yeah. One thing when you're machining is you want to be able to smile. You want to make something that's perfect. And what makes you not smile is when the machine is not giving you the dimensions that you're after. We're standing here at the 5-axis machine, and we're going to get into the different examples of 5-axis machining. But the very most important thing to start off with is the kinematics, the calibration of the machine. I've been super frustrated making things exactly how they should be, and I end up getting a dimension that comes out 1 or 2 thousandths out, and I'm like, well, the machine's tolerances are, plus or minus 0.2 in this area, and what happens is I come to find out it's not calibrated properly. Let's talk about when your machine is giving you exactly what you want to see. And what allows you to go fast, allows you to get a lot done, is your trust in the machine's ability to hit the numbers. When that trust is gone, it's really hard to get back, and that's just like with anything in life. What I want to say is I've run machines and worked on machines that I could make good parts, but what I ended up having to do is I compensated for it. I knew it wasn't going to be exactly right, so I'd leave 1 to 5 thousandths extra material. And that would allow me to tweak that in as I got closer to my finished dimensions. And that's why I want to talk about the calibration of the machine. It's so important, especially when you get to 5-axis. 3-axis alone, growing up on a Fidel, if you've been in a machine shop in the past, I'm sure you've seen Fidels. You can make a Fidel hit the numbers, but you really got to know that specific Fidel. So let's get into why trust is so important. I'm going to start off talking about this block that we ran through our Kinematic setup on our Michon, and then we ran this block. And what we did is we ran it in every side that we had to, and we rotated it, and we made a cut. We did it from the top. We made all the cuts. And what our goal was is to have it blend out so that we could see both tool paths but not feel anything. That to us means that it came in perfectly. It's plus or minus a couple tenths. And that is exactly what we're after. Before we go in and start making a steel insert that's hardened, a slide or a cavity or core on the 5-axis. 3 of the things I'm going to cover, we talked about kinematics. We're going to talk about the temperature sways in your machine based on the temperature outside, the season it is, calibrating once a month, once every 3 months, once every 6 months. Those are huge things, is that temperature, especially when you're trying to hold tight tolerances. You got to have your temperature controlled. Either keep the building warm at nighttime. We also have coolant. Coolant is the third thing. Your coolant can really wreck your parts dimensionally, and you will not understand what's happening. You'll think your machine's out of calibration. It's literally the temperature of the coolant can change the temperature of your machine base. The entire machine can be out of calibration for air temperature and also the coolant temperature. right now we're going to actually run a kinematic setup. We're going to run a time lapse so you can see all the positions that it checks, and then it will make an average of all those calculations and give us the most accurate setup or position that this machine can achieve. What makes us smile the most when we talk about 5-axis is full 5-axis machining. That's a great example of using the machines to their fullest potential, but it's not for everybody, and it's not for every shop either. 3+2 is very effective. It's 90% of what people use and most of what we use here, and 4+1. We're going to show all three examples of this. It's going to be fun. It will make you smile. Making all the other things line up and trust the machine is going to hit the numbers. That's where we get to utilize our 5-axis to the max, and we get to have the most fun. One story I want to share is our challenge with the season changes from summer to winter and how much our machines move if we don't stabilize the temperature in our building and also have the chiller turned on the coolant. The first time I was running the 5-axis, I was running 3+2. I was cutting a block on two different sides, but I was rotating it like this, and I tried to make the cut one way. I don't know if I can show you exactly, but I was cutting on this side, rotating, and then cutting this side. And I got a 0.002 variation on a machine that has tolerance of less than 0.2. So I was frustrated, and that can lead to a frown and not a smile. And that was all due to a temperature fluctuation in the building.
I just want to mention, even though machines have the thermal compensation built into them, the environment, your coolant, your temperature of the season can still have a drastic effect on your calibration and your machine accuracy.
Now that we have our pallet, our 3R pallet, and sunspot mounted on our piece of aluminum, let's see if we can get this thing mounted on here and see if we can make the machine dance. So there's all kinds of applications for this type of cut. Honestly, mostly for me, I like to see what it dance around like that. That's so fun. So just to touch base, maybe explain a little bit about full 5-axis. From what I understand is the control can either do all 5-axis at one time. 4+1 machines can only post out or process 4-axis simultaneous, and obviously 3-axis can only do 3. So the 3+2 option in a lot of machining is the majority of that tool path you'll see out there in the actual work environment. All right, we are done with this part. This is a combination of 3+2 and full 5. Very fun to watch, but very productive as well. I just want to talk about this finish right here. This is a 1/1000 scallop that we left in there, and then the transitions on the toolpath as it runs through the 5-axis motion. This is really clean, really smooth. You can tell when the machines are dialed in well, calibrated. You get exactly what you're after, and that is what makes this kind of work fun to do, especially when that's what you're expected to do, and you don't have a temperature trouble, you don't have miscalibration, which all adds up if you're not on top of it. Thank you for joining us at Zero Tolerance with Practical Machinists for the 5X Factor. Remember to subscribe and like. If you've got any questions, you've got any comments, shoot them down below. Appreciate it. I've lost my mind and I can't remember my lines. I want to share one story that share that one. 3 things I want to talk about briefly. They're not briefly. They're going to be long. Hold on. All right. That's not what I want to say. In the winter to fall. Winter to fall. That's not right. No, redo that. No, it's winter. One story I want to